My name is Ashley Badgley. I am the Director of Survivor Support at PAVE. I use she, her pronouns. I've worked at PAVE for about 2 years, but I am a former sexual assault advocate at the DC Rape Crisis Center. And I now provide one-on-one therapy at the other crisis center in town. So kind of one of the steps after advocacy or alongside advocacy. Last year, PAVE founded our own sort of advocate appreciation day. We wanted this to be a national day. While there are other things and days to celebrate wonderful people in the sexual assault, domestic violence prevention, and advocacy communities, wanted a day specifically for advocates during Sexual Assault Awareness Month, really kind of bring attention to what is one of the most difficult jobs I think there is. And not just difficult, because of the subject matter, but the hours worked, the trauma seen and experienced, the historically, underpaid, overworked life of an advocate, right? So here we're going to get started. We have some amazing panelists this afternoon. I'm just going to start. Zahara, you don't have to read this. I'm just going to ask if you could please give your name, pronouns, where you work, and your title.
Yeah, so hi, my name is Laura. I'm a bilingual legal and medical advocate. I work at Rape Advocacy Counseling Education Services, which is known as RACES, and we're located in Urbana, Illinois. We're located in Champaign County specifically, and we serve 4 counties. We serve Champaign, Douglas, Ford, and Piatt County. And I didn't say my pronouns. My pronouns are she and her. Yeah, I speak Spanish, so yeah, that man.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Rachel.
Hi, yeah. So I'm Rachel Pierce. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Director of Community Services at Arise, which is in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. So we're in Northwest Pennsylvania, so about an hour north of Pittsburgh. And we serve Lawrence County here. We're a comprehensive victim services provider. So we provide services to victims and survivors of sexual assault, domestic violence, and other violent crimes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And Sarah. Oh, Sarah, I think you're muted. Yeah.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Sarah Barria. I'm the Director of Sexual Assault and Counseling Services for Tri-Valley Haven. Prior to becoming the Director of Sexual Assault, I worked for the DV department, from being a legal advocate to lead case manager to shelter manager, and then becoming acting director of DV, and then transition into the SA department last year after graduating from LEAP cohort 7. My agency is a wraparound services agency. We have homelessness. We have a homeless shelter, a DV shelter, and we have counseling, a food pantry, thrift store. We have 7 sites all in all. We in the sexual assault department do education in the local school. We do prevention education. We go into the jail, Santa Rita, and the prison to do support for incarcerated persons, and we do community advocacy and education, as well as respond to SAT calls in all the hospitals in the area.
All right. Thank you so much. And Raina.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're at. I am Raina from Valley Crisis Center, a little town here in Merced, California. We do assist in Merced County area. We're a branch of a couple of different organizations, but overall, Valley Crisis Center supports survivors with a safe house. We provide them with peer counseling, with legal assistance. We support them through resources as well, which is one of the biggest ones. We're not only there just to, serve them through their SA situation, through their human trafficking situation, or their domestic violence situation. We do a little bit of everything, but overall, we just help, each survivor and guide them through the process of healing and what it takes to heal.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. I'm so excited to have you all here. This is a great group of people. Before we kind of get going into the questions, if at any point you need to step away from this, anything feels kind of activating, please do. I have the screen being shared, but I can't always see everything. So I'm going to continue to look at, everyone's space, but I'm going to spotlight all of our folks. So y'all should be all spotlighted. Add spotlight. Add spotlight. Okay, y'all are spotlighted. So there is no order. I'm gonna go down the screen right now for this question. So I'm gonna start with Zahara. What got you interested in being a sexual assault advocate?
Great question. I kind of just applied for a position. I'm really new to the state. I moved here 8 months ago, and so when I applied, I was a minor reporter in California. I did 15 years of preschool teaching, so a lot of like reporting sexual assault as a minor reporter, and not like knowing like what an advocate does. I met with some advocates, but I didn't know exactly their role. And so when I moved to the state, I thought like it was a good time to make that like career change. And so I applied. I like read about racism. I thought like it's a beautiful program, and I just wanted to get involved. And so when I applied, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Really, I was very honest in the interview. I just like had a passion, and like I guess some people just have that spark of like you just are a natural advocate. And something in my interview said that I was like made for the job, and so our executive director hired me, and then I got trained on this position, and I'm really appreciative of what I get to do on a daily basis because I think I'm really good at it. But it just happened by chance.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And how about you, Raina?
I initially learned about, being an advocate back in 2015 when I received a presentation from one of our campus advocates. I had no clue about Valley Crisis Center and what they did. And so to be a volunteer, you have to do a certain amount of hours. I think we all know that, 40 hours of sexual assault, 40 hours of domestic violence training. So I went ahead and took that, interested in volunteering. And also I believe part of my background in growing up in a TV home and having to be an SA survivor myself as well, kind of encouraged me to open up my doors and just be interested. So there was a time when positions would be posted. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna apply to this one. I'm gonna apply to this one. So, just very passionate about being part of the Valley Crisis family. And so that's why I'm here now. I'm supporting survivors and, learning to empathize with them and learning to, kind of tell them it's okay what you're feeling through and being able to guide them because, when you grow up in that state as well, it's like you have a little bit of a way of telling them I can resonate with you. I understand what you're going through and, I'm here to help you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Absolutely. I know when I started this work, it was and then it became a passion, and then it became a significant part of my life. And I'm grateful for it, but it is definitely a lot of work. How about what got you interested in being a sexual assault advocate, Rachel?
So I kind of stumbled into this position a little bit. I was a few years post-masters. So the pandemic had hit. I had just had my first child at the beginning of 2020. And I was just kind of like applying to like everything. And I happened to stumble upon a position at our agency for an advocate position. And I'm a survivor, and it's always been something that's been a passion of mine. So I went ahead and I applied for the position and was chosen to be an advocate here at the agency. At the time, it was only supposed to be a 1-year temporary position that was grant funded. And about I think it was like in March of 2021, our executive director at the time was like, "You're not going anywhere." So I was very lucky. And I've had an opportunity to really grow in a few different positions here at the agency. So now I serve as the director of community services, and I oversee our education and outreach program. So I'm still getting to do some of those things that sort of line up with what I initially had gone for my master's for. And then I also oversee our advocacy department for legal and medical advocacy and accompaniment. So stumbled on it, and I love it, and I'm not going anywhere. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I think I'm sure your community is grateful that you didn't go anywhere because these jobs are hard to do. And I know funding is always an issue, right? So, and PAVE itself, PAVE was survivor founded. Angela, who founded PAVE, is a survivor of sexual violence, and our small but mighty staff, we are all survivors, openly survivors. So it's definitely a survivor fueled field. And Sarah, how about you? What got you interested in being a sexual assault advocate?
Thank you. I started the work of advocacy way back when my child was very young. My background is law. I've always worked with law firms. And when I had a young child, I didn't want to be working 110 hours a week. I wouldn't be able to have time for my daughter. So I kind of took time of my husband and I at that time decided it would be best for me to be a stay-at-home mother and take care of my child. But you know how it is when you're being a professional person all your life. I couldn't sit still So I became a CASA while raising my daughter, and was an advocate for children in foster care, was reporting for the court system, did that for a while, and found out that I actually had a lot more passion doing that than working in law firms. So when we relocated to California, I started looking for work in the advocacy field and found Tri-Valley Haven. I came in under the Homeless Services umbrella, and I did work as CalFresh advocate in the community, reaching out to people who are homeless, who are needing services, and then graduated to being their legal advocate, and then became shelter manager in the domestic violence shelter, and then acting director. And once I went into LEAP to go get my training for a year and become knowledgeable, much more knowledgeable in sexual assault, the position of director of sexual assault opened up 2 years ago, and I applied for that and switched. And I haven't been happier because my family members very close to me are survivors of sexual assault. And I found that this is the time for me to step in and do something for them, and to support people who would experience the same things that my family members have experienced. Our agency is also a survivor funded agency. About 47 years ago, I started out of the basement of one of the founding mothers, and now it's grown to be an agency of 43 people. I'm very happy to be involved with the agency that I work with, and happy with the community that we're in.
Awesome. Thank you. We have a variety of reasons, but it seems that everyone is extremely passionate, and that I don't think you can be a sexual assault advocate if you are not passionate, not just in the work, but in serving survivors and your communities overall, basically. So this is, sexual assault advocates kind of do very similar things in different spaces, but we all have our unique communities, right? Unique needs. So like in DC, our sexual assault advocates, we have there's a lot of nonprofits here, right? There is a very sort of robust system of how you get a call. It's usually hospital advocacy is where you start, or in the community. I've gone to a hotel before, you know what I mean? Like you go to different places, and that's kind of where it starts. What does an advocate in your community do, or what does that look like? And I'll start with you, Raina.
I just first want to say they're superhumans because they do a little bit of everything. So they attend start meetings and, just take them, make sure that they're okay. If they don't want to go through the process, that's okay as well. They also support with, like I said, resources. It's one of the big ones. We not only support with any sexual assault, human trafficking, or domestic violence situation, but we also guide them to find possibly permanent housing, possibly benefits, kind of assist them in that route. Essentially, in the shelter role, safe house role, we even help empower them and say, you know what, we got this. It's going to be a long journey, but we're going to take you to Human Service Agency so you can apply for your benefits. We're going to take you to Merced College and apply for you to start school again. That's a little bit of what we do at our safe house, but we also have like the legal support that we give to them, which may look like restraining orders. We help them with peer counseling. We have group sessions. So we have a little bit of everything. And like I said, I think they really have superpowers because, it's being able to connect with each and every survivor. And even if it's not related to their current situation, even if it's just like a general question about like, how can I get a bus pass? Then it's like, okay, let me help you through that. So like I said, it's a big role, but at the end of the day, it's just being able to provide the support that they need then and there. And, responding out to law enforcement, responding out to community members, responding out to hospitals, whatever that may look like.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I love the holistic approach that advocates get to do. You mentioned SART. So SART meetings, which is, we all know we all live in an acronym fueled world in nonprofits. SART is a sexual assault response team. And there are different ones around the country. Basically, all of the places Raina mentioned. So like housing, legal, therapy, law enforcement, all of these groups are members of a team called the Sexual Assault Response Team. And ever so often they all get together and have meetings that can be quite contentious at times because you have everyone coming in with different interests. The lovely thing of the advocate is the advocate's coming in and the only thing they're interested in is serving the survivor. They don't care if it doesn't serve the legal service or the law enforcement agency or honestly, even some of the services their own org provides. They're there to serve the survivor. And so that's really great. Thank you, Raina. Rachel, how about you?
Yeah, so in the state of Pennsylvania, I'm not sure how it is like everywhere, but the way that our training kind of goes is that all of us are technically trained as advocates here at the agency. So our counselors are also advocates and they can provide counseling to individuals who have experienced sexual assault or any type of sexual violence, and they also do case management. Our advocates can provide legal and medical advocacy and accompaniment, and they also do case management with folks as needed. Our education and outreach team goes into the community and provides that education and outreach just to make sure that folks know that our services are here and are available for folks. And then we often will have disclosures in those spaces and just get folks connected directly through advocacy here at our agency. And then we also have like our emergency shelter here and our hotline. So we're able to serve folks that call in or that need to come in for emergency shelter or work through any of our other residential programs. And they also receive case management through that as well. We're also very lucky that through grant funding, we're able to put an advocate directly on Westminster College's campus, which is they're a small private liberal arts school here in Lawrence County. So we have an advocate that serves directly on campus and provides advocacy support to students there. We do education and outreach there on campus as well. So it really looks a little bit different depending on what the individual needs and what services that they want. But we're really able to provide them the whole gamut of services that we offer through advocacy.
That's awesome. I think, PAVE, when we came up with Advocacy Appreciation Day, I wanted to really get the point across that there are community advocates, but campus advocates are also a huge thing. Oftentimes they are people who come from community organizations, like it sounds like, but they are, college campuses are unfortunately where a lot of sexual assault happens. And, disclosures there, you want to make it as easy for a survivor to get support. And having someone on campus is so good. So we have a question and I see that Zahara answered it. I'm just going to read it real quick before I get to Sarah. Do you have to have a college degree in order to start advocacy work? And what would be the first step? In my experience, you do not need a college degree. Most of the advocates I know did go to college. It almost exclusively across the country requires at least 40 hours of sexual assault training. And it's very specific, or it could be in other places, you also have to do additional domestic violence training. But most of them, I agree, it kind of interns are where a lot of it starts. So you don't need a degree, but some places may require one just because a lot of places like to do that. But no, there is no advocacy degree. And if anyone, when it's their turn to speak, wants to speak to that, go ahead. But Sarah, I wanted to give you a chance to say what an advocate in your community does.
Thank you very much. So we provide crisis intervention over the crisis line, or when a person walks into any of our facilities that have advocates. And by crisis intervention means that we give them emotional support immediately, and then we refer them to a longer term care on one of our counselors. We also give them referrals to either internal services with our agency for housing, legal, or food, whatever it is that they're needing. And we provide accompaniments usually at police stations or at hotels or at schools or in our community building. Wherever the advocates meet us, that's where we provide accompaniments to. We also do SART in the hospitals. We respond to the 3 cities that we operate in, and the police would call us or the hospital would call us to come and do a SAT support. So that's by the way we do accompaniment. We do court accompaniments too for our incarcerated persons and other community members when they're going to court for their sexual assault cases or DV cases. In our agency, we give a 70-hour training as recommended by CalOES, California Office of Emergency Services, who are our biggest funders. So anybody that trains through Tri-Valley Haven gets a 70-hour training. And if you have previous experience in doing advocacy work alongside with this training, then we are able to actually hire people who have trained through us to give them work with our agency when it is available. We do advocacy and empowerment in the community by visiting with women's group, church groups to do prevention education to them. And we also do prevention education to local high and middle schools, as well as the local colleges, community colleges that we have in the Tri-Valley area. We attend policy advocacy locally and in Sacramento to make sure that we are advocating for all that are survivors of sexual assault we need. Will need to be able to cope and manage their life post-traumatization. So this is basically what it is, but our work is not just limited to this. It's continuing support throughout whatever the survivor needs from us. We would do immediate triaging, but we also continue to support you throughout your journey until you're comfortable at such a time that you feel, okay, I need to go further away from you guys, or I'm okay with what you've given me. I can cope on my own. So it is continuous. We are so multifaceted. I don't even know where to start and say where advocacy starts and ends, because it never seems to end, so to speak. But pretty much that's what we do here.
Yeah. Awesome. That is so great. I think it's important to know, yeah, you can be in the middle of your court case, you could be in the middle of, you know, needing a medical exam, you could be receiving therapy, and those might be three different people, but your advocate it could be there the whole time with you. You know, I provide therapy services, and I know who all of my clients' advocate was, like the advocate who was assigned to them when they first, you know, needed support. And often, you know, have the clients reach back out to them because they need additional services. So Zahara, last but not least, what do advocates in your community do?
Perfect, thank you. So in my definition of what an advocate does is we empower all individuals we meet on our day-to-day line of work, whether it is receiving a phone call at our office line or the crisis line, and answering the questions that client may have. It might be as whether it's connecting with another rape crisis center and making sure that like if someone's being transferred to us, we're like sometimes we don't know like the name of the survivor. We don't know there's a survivor going to be presenting soon at the emergency room and meeting that survivor there. It's like it's basically building resources together, whether it is meeting a survivor in the emergency room or in our office and helping them understand that nothing that happened to them is their fault or was even preventable. And then I get to help victims of violence gauge what it is that they want to do and then help them be as successful as possible in what they want to be successful in, right? And it might be like getting an order of protection, or it could be as simple as getting treatment that they deserve to receive at a hospital without judgment and getting their choices provided to them. Because some hospitals are treatment hospitals and some hospitals are transfer hospitals. And like also like being able to explain that to someone that's coming in, not knowing what's happening, right? And also providing like absolute privacy and confidentiality and being present every step of the way to make sure our survivors understand that yes, something terrible has happened to them, but this will not be like the end all definition of them. And then we help them move past this event and continue to grow and be successful in their journey. And then we empower men, women, and like children, adolescents, because unfortunately, sexual assault can present in all ages, all individuals. There's like no like specific like cookie cutter. This is what a victim looks like, right? Victims are come in all shapes and sizes, all backgrounds, right? And so it's to let them know that we're here to support them and help them and whatever it is they want to do. We're here to listen to them. We're a human to support them and a person who is present. And we are simply a call away, a walk in away, and we never turn anyone away from these services. Like an advocate like literally goes above and beyond getting like anything that a survivor needs, and we make sure to connect them to those resources. We follow through, we do follow-up calls, and we don't take it personally if a survivor doesn't want to like have any resources. Like, hey, we're providing this for you. If you want this, like you know where to get us. Like, and we're always like, we understand if you turn away from us and then come back like months later, there's no judgment. We're still going to be here. We're still going to help you, and we want to help you. And I think that like it's really important to like let survivors know like we want to be here. Like yeah, we don't have to come to emergency room, but like we want to be here, and like hey, we're available. Like it doesn't matter if it's 1 a.m., 2 a.m., like 5 p.m., 6 p.m., a Friday night, a Saturday night, a Sunday night. We want to be here, and we're gonna stay as long as you want us here. And even further than that, like if you want to meet up in a month later and come to our office, get more resources, we'll get as many resources as you want. Like, and there's no like end all for our resources. I think Sarah said it amazingly. Like we are here to do as much as we can, and we want to do it.
Mm-hmm. That was very, very well said. That I think about it. Yeah. Advocacy is, 24/7 job. There are people who are on on call always, right? 365, I've worked the New Year's Eve overnight shift before. I would say, you said it can be 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m. I would say the hour, and again, it can be any one, but the hours of the day I got the least amount of calls were the 4, 5, 6 p.m. It usually is after someone gets off work or the next morning or the middle of the night, at least in my experience. Of course, there are people who have calls all the time, but yeah, advocates work some crazy hours. Okay, so we're going to start with you this time, Rachel. What's the best part of being an advocate and what's the most difficult part? I'm not going to say worst. I'm going to say most difficult. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. So the best part of being an advocate is really just getting to be there for people. I love my job. I tell folks every day that this is like the first job that I come to, that I don't get like the Sunday scaries. Like I don't ever wake up thinking like, oh, I have to go to work today. Like I love what I do here. I love being able to help people. I love getting folks connected to resources. I love providing like the education in the community. There's just a lot of like good things about the work that we're doing as advocates. The most difficult part is that while I love the work that we're doing, the work is heavy. We're dealing and meeting with folks that are in the midst of some of the most traumatic events of their life and trying to help them carry that weight a little bit. So really it's hard sometimes to like leave it at the door when I leave to go home at the end of the day, especially when you're working with kiddos who have disclosed to you. It just kind of like breaks your heart a little bit. So I would say that the most difficult part is that the work is heavy and just like managing how to deal with that when you leave at the end of the day.
All right. Yeah, that was a great answer. And you brought up kids, just child advocacy related to sexual violence, or really minors, is not all agencies do it, and it's even more training. So regarding the question of like education, it's not necessarily a degree, but if you're gonna work specifically with children, there's even additional training that's different, obviously, because children are not adults, right? And they have different rights, and there are laws like reporting laws and things you have to do to get them support. That makes it, I'm not going to say more difficult at time, not because the kids are more difficult, but because the systems are more difficult when children are involved. It's just much more complicated. They can't just, we can't just put them in a hotel. There have to be other people involved. So I will go to you, Sarah. What is the best part of being an advocate and the most difficult for you?
The best part of being an advocate is that I am able to reassure a survivor that I am here for you. And I'm able to empower that survivor to know that they didn't do anything to deserve what happened to them. It's not their fault. I am here to support you, and I'm going to do whatever you need. Throughout your journey, working through this trauma, I'm with you. You're not alone. You have a community of advocates that are going to be with you throughout the way. And I think when we get letters that come back from people we've worked with in the past, be it domestic violence or sexual assault, and say, I came to you and the things you gave to me changed my life. I didn't know that I would survive that moment, but I walked away from you knowing that I can do this because I know there are people to my left and to my right that are going to do this work with me. They're going to work this journey with me. They're going to support me in everything that I need. We take away the burden of having to worry, where would I live? What would I eat? We just let them focus on dealing with their trauma, working through it as best as they can, while we give them all the resources that they need to do that job for themselves, to be their own heroes. But the most difficult, like I think Rachel said this, and somebody else said it earlier, you too said it. The first time I went to SAT response, and it was a minor child, I did not know what to do. I went into mommy mode. I wanted to hug this child, but I don't know what she needs from me. So I had to back away and wait for cues from her. Does she want me to give her a hug? Does she want me to hold her hand? I was holding my emotions in so hard that once I left that place, I went to the toilet and cried like a baby, washed my face and came back, put on my invisible cape to be the advocate that I needed to be, and say, okay, here I am. what do we do next? What do you need from me? You know, it's harder if the victimization happened in the family setting. That means you have to remove them from that setting. Then you have to think about the next step. What do I do with this child? So the hardest part for me is when I have to deal with a survivor who is a minor, and you have to make that extra leg of decision for them. It's not just advocating and let this person make their choices. You literally have to do everything from start to end with this person. Having taken care of that, another part of my job that I really, really love is community education. On the 1st of April, we were downtown Livermore, where our office is, and the whole of First Street is full of restaurants. It's the busiest heart of the city. We were putting up teal ribbons on every tree that line both sides of that street. And community members will stop and say, what's the ribbon all about? What's this about? It gives you a moment to now give them education. What Sexual Assault Awareness Month is about, what Denim Day is about. When I do those things, they make me happy. I forget the trauma part of what we do. And now it's about community. It's about engaging with my community, telling them about my agency, telling them what we do, and then letting them know that if this happens to you or to anyone you know, please, there are resources. There is an agency here that you could go to and get taken care of. I love my job.
Thank you. I love how you brought up the real emotions. Advocates do cry and get emotional sometimes, and it's not bad. It's not wrong. You know, we do have to like contain ourselves at times, right? Because you don't want the survivor then being like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Right? It's about them. But
Yeah.
there are moments when we need to, you know, release, or, you know, maybe your eyes well up with tears, and, you know, not many jobs is that something that is almost expected, you know, or, you know, that if you have a job, you know, where you work in an office 9 to 5 and you're not working with survivors in person, you may have tough moments, but you're not usually, you know, fighting back those kind of emotions, which is, again, what makes advocates superheroes, right? So how about you, Zahara?
Sorry, let me just mute myself. Thank you. So to me, the best part is being present for survivors. I think a lot of us said that. And that means like meeting our survivors wherever, and then letting them know that we want to be like present and part of the process, and like that we care. I think it's really important to like say that and express like we actually care and we're here for you, right? And then I love being able to aid and navigate what it is that the survivor wants to do and have done, and equally important what they do not want to be done, right? And so like, and also like making sure that like if they're going in to get a kit and they only want a specific part of that, like during sexual assault, there's a kit that's used to collect DNA evidence. And so like if there's a specific part that the survivor doesn't want to do and a nurse is pushing that, like making sure that like the survivor's voices are heard, right? And it doesn't mean that means that like if it's a 5-year-old kid and their parents are there really pushing for a kit to be done, making sure that the survivor's voice is being heard. So like that 5-year-old's voice is being heard, not the parent who wants to push the kit being done, right? And so like making sure that autonomy is being returned to the survivor, and allowing the opportunity to feel any feelings. It's okay to like cry, it's okay to scream, it's okay to like say bad words around me. Like I'm not gonna judge you. I understand. It's actually like really good to say bad words. It's part of healing. And so like, and refrain from any judgment or ill feeling towards like the survivor, and coming from an open heart and wanting to aid and be a resourceful, or like a resource for our survivors. And I think like equally a difficult part for me, at least, it has been, because I'm a legal and medical advocate, so I go to the courtrooms with my survivors as well, is like navigating through that criminal justice system, because our survivors have it really rough, right? Being in a room with their perpetrators, I'm not automatically gonna like just bring back all those, like all that trauma, even if it's, and we know court cases don't come like immediately after a sexual assault or any violent act, right? It takes months for the criminal process to like begin, or even years, right? Could be multiple years, could be up to 3 years, up to 5 years. And so like restarting that trauma in a survivor is so difficult, and like to help navigate them through that. And then then being like, if they want to testify, like being able to do that, like overhearing what's happening in a trial where they're the victim and people are talking about what's happened to them, and just being unknown of like what the jury is going to say, what they're going to think. That's just so difficult for a survivor. And many times our survivors want to be involved, and they just maybe just don't want to, like they want to be involved but they just don't know how to. So like helping them navigate that with like the victim advocates and making sure that like they're being updated to for their case, or like we take it upon ourselves, like, hey, this is the next trial date, like let's prepare, like how can we prepare for this date, like what do you need from us, like emotionally, what do you need us for us, like evidence wise, like what do you need for us legally, like just being there every step of the way, and then helping them prep for court too, and then just like I've never heard any of our survivors say like at the end of a trial date, like, yes, maybe like the perpetrator was found guilty, right? Like I've never once heard someone say like, yes, that's justice, right? Because like, how can you define justice when like your power has been stripped from you and this control has been taken from you, right? And there's no way of like making a survivor whole again, right? There's no way that like that event could have been removed from their life, right? Like there's no way like you can be returned to the person you were prior to this event, right? And so like that's the most difficult for me, and it really resides with me, and like being very understanding that like you may never return to the person you were prior to this event, and that's okay, but we're here to like try to get you whole again, or get you as close to whole again, and just being able to know that like this trauma might live with you forever, but we're still going to make sure that you're going to be okay and you're going to make it through.
Right. And trauma does not define you. It can change parts of your life, but it is not who you are. I love that. And I love, like I said, I provide one-on-one therapy, and I think my job as an advocate provided me more of gave me more preparation for being a therapist than school. And by that, I mean, I can hear survivors say like, the detective's not that I was talking to was kind of being disrespectful, and just reminding them like, if you don't want to talk to them anymore, you don't have to. If they're not being respectful, if they're not being kind, like you can say these things and even like role play them with them, which is crazy stuff that, advocacy taught me, not school. So it's just interesting. How about you, Raina?
I think here being at the safe house, it's like the best part for me is empowering them. At times we have meetings with our group of people and our advocates. And we're like, okay, what are you working on? Who are you assisting today? And they're like, oh, they finally got their benefits. And that to us is like a big deal because it takes a long time. One, and two, being able to empower them, and being able to go on there and it's like, you did it. For some people it may look like very minimal, but to us it really does like make us happy, genuinely happy that they're moving on, they're growing. And I think along with everybody else, being part of this job makes me enjoy serving survivors, being able to provide them that support that they need. I think as well as everybody had already mentioned, it is very difficult, to help them heal because trauma stays there, for a while. It takes a long time to heal. It's not, some of the safe houses, they have 30-day stay or 60-day stay or 90-day stay, depending on what it may look like in each organization, and it doesn't mean that when they leave, everything's going to be okay. And so that's the difficult part, realizing that beyond that, just following up with them, trying to connect with them. But I just want to kind of mention when I had an SA training, they mentioned about a survivor, and I'm not sure if I can share this, but no names. Survivor had gone through a situation. They were out in the alleyway, and when they did a START exam, they removed dirt from her body parts. And so that to me was like very intense, when you're taking a training like that. And then not only that, but being able to be present in those, exam rooms and, acknowledging that clients are not going to feel comfortable at times. It's like, who's going to feel comfortable? Like I'm laying here naked, I'm getting swabbed in places that I don't feel comfortable being swabbed. And this is my first time. It could be their first time, showing their body part to somebody else. So it's very intense, and it's very difficult to, explain them and, let them know like, you did not choose to go through this. You were taken advantage of regardless of your age group, because you can see different age groups. You can see from 2-month babies till 60-year-old individuals. So it doesn't specifically mean anything. And I think it's even more difficult when that person can be a family member, and it's like it's going to impact the family dynamic. And you're questioning that yourself, like, should I speak up? Should I not speak up? And so those are some of the difficult things that I see survivors go through, being sure that they can decide whatever they want at the end of the day is within their hands. and whatever decision that they do, we're going to be there to support.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good point. Being present during really difficult times, just keeping a conversation going when something, someone is swabbing them or, something like that or keeping the conversation going between the very specific way they have to get the swab out and put them, you know what I mean? That is a long exam if we're talking about if someone gets the entire exam, right? So I appreciate all of those wonderful answers. One that I think is really important. How do you care for yourself outside of work or volunteer or whatever? Because vicarious trauma is real, right? So experiencing, what do you call it? Secondary trauma, vicarious trauma, seeing people in these situations is extremely difficult. And many people who work in the field are survivors, but even if you're not, seeing all of this and having it come at you every day is really tough. So how do you care for yourselves? And I'm going to start with you, Sarah. Oh, you're muted, Sarah.
Apologize. It took me a long time to learn to compartmentalize my vicarious trauma and leave it at work and not take it home with me. I'm not sure that I've even conquered that yet, because I do come home and think about my clients. What are they doing? What are they thinking? Are they okay? Are they safe? What I do for self-care is, in as much as I would think about the cases of the client, I would say I need time to take a walk and just decompress, or I need to go take a bath. I'll soak, have candles around me and say, okay, I have this 15, 20, 1 hour to just relax and not think about work. I'll get out of this. Tomorrow is a new day. I'll start all over again. I'm good at playing music that tends to calm me down when I'm feeling anxious about my client or what I'm going to do next, be it in court, at the hospital, at the police station, wherever we're supposed to be going to with the client. I try to make sure that I take care of me, because if I'm not whole, there's no part of me that I can give to anybody else. So if it is the music that I need to play to calm myself down, or meditation, or if I need to just call a friend and say, hey, do you want to come walk with me? I will do that. And once in a while, I'll take a trip outside, go to LA where friends are, or even go back to the East Coast where I have friends as well, and just travel and try not to think about trauma or re-traumatization or vicarious trauma. But yeah, I'll come back to it. But I have learned over the course of 10 plus years that I can separate the two. I can be an advocate. I can also be Sarah the human, because unless Sarah the human is together, I'll be no use to my clients. So those are the things that I do to take care of me.
Yep. Sarah the human needs to exist for Sarah the superhero to exist, right?
Yeah.
It makes me think, and I apologize for any noise. It makes me think of, like during COVID, I was an advocate during a lot of the height of the pandemic. And I mean, I worked from home anyway. When I was an advocate, I worked from home unless I was in the community, unless I was at the hospital. And it's really tough when you want to separate, but your desk is in your bedroom or your living room or something like that. Or when you work 24/7 and you're going from your bed to the hospital and then maybe going back to bed when you get home because it's 1 to 5 in the morning or something. It's really, I feel like those are really important things. So having, being able to go outside, being able to go with friends, because it is not just a unique job, it's a unique workplace and location, because you could be in so many different places. So how about you, Zara?
So I am like through and through. Like I love music and listening to music. It like heals my soul and pulls me out of like the deepest deep I've ever felt. And so like I was like music is like my like healing power. Like it just, for some reason, music just heals me. And also like the work we do in itself is rewarding. And I don't want to take that away from like the work that we do. We help people, and like so just like remembering like in the back of my head, like yes, not every day. It's like it doesn't feel like a success, but like we're doing good, and we're helping society regain its civilization and humanitarianism. And that is beautiful. And like I love the people that I work with. And unfortunately, it's unfortunate circumstances that people come to us, but like we all have very similar struggles, right? So everyone's always struggling, and so it's important to bring back the humanitarianism. And we can like in my workplace, like races, we confide in each other, and there's just like so much love at like races from the beginning. Like the first week I've started here, like it just everyone was just like so caring and like just nurturing, and it's like because the nature of the work that we do, we all understand like we can't go home and talk to anyone about this. We can't like call our mom and be like, hey, like this happened to me at work, because like the confidentiality of our like role is like we can't talk to anyone other than like 40 like trained trauma therapists or trauma workers, right? And so like we're like confined to like only being able to discuss this with people who are within our work environment and who like know the struggle. And so like races does like monthly like self-care meetings, like so we're literally we have a meeting that's like an hour dedicated to just doing what you need to do, like just being here, like just being zen, like if that's meditation, listening to music, like we just do that with each other for an hour. And the ability to just pop in and out with each other's offices. We all keep our doors open unless we have a client, and like being able to like vent to each other about like the ills of the civil system is like my biggest irk, and just like our stride. And just like we plan fun events, like today we're having like a recess day where like the adults in our work get to like have a recess outside, because like who doesn't like doing double dutch, right? And just like doing things like we did as a child, because like that helps heal us. And just like taking care of ourselves, like jump roping, eating amazing food. I love cooking, and that's my love language. Just like I like to cook and watch people eat my food. And so like as an endomorph through and through, and I just like love preparing food for people and my fellow staff members, and just like sometimes having available for people that come in. And so like making like samosas and snacks and smoothies and milkshakes. And then like even like honey Earl Grey tea is like, that's my favorite thing to do. It's like very comforting to me. And so like just feels like feeding my soul is very important. And I think that like because of the nature of the work we do, like it's nourishing yourself and eating well is very important. Exercising and getting like that like endorphins in your body is important, and it's just like taking care of your basic needs so then you can like give to others, like so keeping our glass full so we can give to others from our glass is very important to us.
Yeah, no, I used to, every time I had to do a shift, either on the way there, depending on the time of the day, either on the way there or on the way home, I would stop and get myself like a latte. I was like, it doesn't matter. I don't care if I don't want the latte, I'm getting a decaf. I just like, you know what I mean? Like it was so important to me and almost became a ritual, right? I think rituals are also important just in self-care, especially if it's a job that is so different every single day. No matter what, I'm going to have my Earl Grey tea, right? No matter what, I'm going to have my coffee. Having those things that are consistent when your job is so inconsistent. And that's true for survivors too. It's true for everyone. Like survivors' lives might be all, over the place. So we want to make sure that they're having dinner every day, right? So we need to do that for ourselves too. So Raina, how about you?
I just want to echo everything that Sarah said right now. I think, it is hard, kind of disconnecting with what is going on at work and then your personal life, and you do care about those individuals inside and outside of work, regardless if you want to or not. Like that does happen. Thankfully, when I came into Valley Crisis Center, they have one-on-ones every week. So we start having that. I have that with my team members, and I kind of connect with them and say, hey, how can I support you? What's going on? Is there anything that you want to mention to me? And it could be on a personal level if that's something that they like to share, but it could also be related to work and say, hey, I'm really having a hard time, supporting this client. So and so, law enforcement was very disrespectful to them. And, we have that moment to like kind of open up and vent really, because you can't like, I'm not sure who mentioned it, but, you can't go home and say, hey, so guess what happened at work today? It's a little different because we have confidentiality. And we're going to hold that to the highest standard because we want to make sure that our survivors are protected and that information is also protected. So I think just having those one-on-ones, our organization is kind of under an umbrella. So every 3 months, we kind of all gather in together, all the services, and we just have like kind of like a picnic day. We go out, we play games, we have a meal together, we kind of get to know each other. And this is an entire day kind of like to have that self-care moment, because we do need that, And so as of for myself, I think I love to cook. I also love to eat. So I kind of do that coping at times in a healthy boundary way. And also, playing music. Like I said, I think Sahara echoed a lot of what I do as well. Just kind of put Panic at the Disco, just let it all out, whatever that can look like. And just kind of be okay to feel it. Oftentimes we tell our clients it's okay to cry. It's okay and at times advocates feel like they need to suppress those emotions. Like, no, you're a human too. You can feel, and that's okay. Just learn to kind of like disconnect, make sure your life is your life and you assisting other is wonderful. But make sure you're taking care of yourself while you're doing that along the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, even we all do think, like we tell survivors, like there are good coping skills, there are bad coping skills, but we're not judging for anything that might seem bad. So if one day you're like, I have 20 things to do and I'm not going to do any of them, sometimes that is the thing you need to do. And it's not necessarily ideal, but it's real, right? At PAVE, we are encouraging like organizations that have advocates for Advocate Appreciation Day to give the advocates an hour off paid, or maybe it's not that day because they're on call, but maybe it's during the next week or an afternoon or even a full day, right? Like if that's possible. I know things aren't always possible, but even those small times where they don't have to do anything but not worry about not getting paid is important. We have a few minutes left. I want to hear, Rachel, what you have to say, and then I have one more quick question for everyone. So Rachel, how do you care for yourself?
Yeah, so I really pour myself back into my home. I have 2 daughters at home and we're actually expecting another one. So just really just pouring myself into my kiddos. I love to read. So I'll read. I'm a Netflix girly, especially Gilmore Girls. That's like my comfort show. So I'll just sit there and kind of veg out and watch Gilmore Girls. And then I like being able to just go outside and just spend some time outside. It's finally starting to perk up here in Western Pennsylvania. Not looking quite as gray every day. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And then I'm a huge supporter of mental health and taking care of yourself. So I go to counseling. I'm medicated and, taking care of myself, and that's part of it. And it's not just work, right? There's things in my personal life and things that I'm also doing those things for, but just having that as that additional support is just extremely helpful.
Yes, I also go to therapy. I think therapy is a great thing. Also medicated. And there was something you brought up, Gilmore Girls. That's a lot of people's show. My show is a Murder, She Wrote. So I've seen every episode about 300 times. So I know we all have those shows. And there is science behind watching the same show over and over again and giving you a calm. So it's something actually a lot of trauma survivors do too. So final question, I'm going to give everyone one sentence that you could say. What is something you wish you could tell every survivor who might be watching this? Zahara, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, so that one sentence, it was never your fault and it will never be your fault. Please do not think that you could have ever prevented this from ever happening. And also do not feel like you're alone.
Thank you. Raina.
I talk a lot, so it's hard for me to keep it one sentence, but you got this. Keep moving forward.
That was great. So Rachel, how about you?
I believe you and I'm here to support you.
Awesome. And Sarah? Oh, you're muted, Sarah. Sarah, you're muted.
I am so sorry, ladies. So you're not alone. Your safety matters to me. You have rights and those rights are confidential, and we're doing this together.
Right. And I would say, I believe you. You matter. The world absolutely needs you here. So with that, I just want to say thank you to everyone who came to watch. Thank you to the amazing panelists here. I don't know about you all, but I thought this was a really great conversation, and it's so good to have people who know this world, know this field, come together and have conversations. So I wish you all a lovely rest of your day and demand that everyone who is in this room at this point do something good for themselves this afternoon or this evening. And with that, I bid you all adieu. So take care.
Thank you, ladies.